Well, good morning and welcome to another edition of The Hellion Rocks. We've got a really cool guest today, vocalist Pamela Moore. Pamela, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Hellion?
We're doing really good here. We're keeping the voice and message of rock and roll alive, and there's a lot of significant music being made, and some of it from you right now. This is very cool. So we're glad to have you on board today.
Thanks for asking. This is great.
Awesome. Well, let's just dig right into it. As I was growing up, music was always a part of my house. There was many styles and many forms of music all around. How did music come into your life?
Well, it actually started with my mom, and my mom's not musically inclined at all, but she was an actress, and she was really into little theater in the community where we lived. And I was pretty young, and because she had so many children, of course, we had to kind of follow her around when she was doing her own projects. But that was fine with me because she would produce and act in these different plays, and I got to be in a couple of them. And for a little girl, being able to dress up and be on stage was kind of like the epitome of role playing and stuff, And so it really got the bug in me, and I wanted to do that. But we were from a really poor family, and she said, well, you're going to have to take acting lessons, and you're going to have to learn how to sing and dance and play an instrument. And for some reason that stuck in my head about playing an instrument. So I went out and babysat for a while when I was older, earned enough money to buy a guitar. With this guitar had the horrible action on it. It was like an inch from the bridge, and I just sat there and tried to teach myself how to play. And obviously my parents could tell that I had a passion for it, and I was writing my own songs back then and having some really wonderful mentors through school and through high school. I had some that made it a little bit more, gave me an opportunity to record some of my earlier songs, which I'd be interested to hear what they sound like now. And then it just kind of blossomed to where I am now.
Very cool. So, at what point did you realize that was going to be your calling in life, that was not going to be just a hobby, that you wanted to do that for real?
I think because I was getting a lot of attention from it. I was really, really shy when I was a kid, and for some reason the music part of it helped me express maybe my shyness from inside, and it really kind of helped build more confidence, if that makes any sense, in my abilities and what I was doing. So I would say when I was pretty young and I started writing my own music and stuff, probably since I was really young, because that's all I've ever really known. I mean, I've had, regular day jobs here and there as I've grown, but music's always been the main staple and the main force in my life. So it's what I do.
Nice. I know. So growing up in Washington, that's always had a distinct, separate sound of music than the rest of the country. A lot of stuff has come out of there. Who locally influenced you, or was your main drive?
Well, out here in the Pacific Northwest, as I was in high school and stuff, of course, I was listening to Heart, and in the earlier days, I really loved Paul Rodgers from Bad Company. I thought he was an amazing singer. He still is. And, of course, the Hart sisters are amazing, and they were just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was a pretty proud moment as a fan to see that happen. But as far as influences, there's so many artists out there that I think are amazing. And I really am turned on by songs even more so. And the song just has to be something that speaks to me, and I fall in love with it. And so I would say, there's an awful lot of music that's come out of the Pacific Northwest as well.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, especially during the grunge scene and, Pearl Jam and all of those guys. But so I've been surrounded by some pretty amazing talent, just by where I've been growing as far as a person and stuff in my home base.
Nice. So you first came into the public eye with a lot of people with Queensryche. How did that relationship come about?
Strangely enough, I was doing a lot of commercials, like radio and TV commercial singing on a lot of them. And I was also in a really popular top 40 band at the time, too. And this commercial that I got asked to sing was like on the radio 24/7 on TV, and it just so happened to be that Chris DeGarmo and Jeff Tate heard what I was singing, and they wanted to seek out who this person was. And so I'd met Chris the first time, and we had talked a lot about music and what was going on in his life and everything. And so the story has it that I guess they were looking for a singer that would fit the bill for Sister Mary and for the album that they were creating, Operation Mindcrime. And I had no clue. They came to see me perform in the top 40 band that I had, which was odd because I kept looking at them going, oh, they must like top 40 music. I had no idea that they were scouting me out, so to speak. And then I don't know how much time after that I'd seen them, but then I got a call from Chris. He was in Montreal, and he asked if I'd like to fly up and try this part out that they wanted me to sing. And I was hoping that he could get a recording of it so I could listen to it. He said no, because they were keeping it under their hat, so to speak, being pretty private about what the whole project was. And I just went, well, I hope I'm the right person for you. And he kind of said, I think we have a pretty good idea of how it's going to come off. And I was thankful that he was confident enough. And I went up there. They gave me a cassette tape to listen to, took me to dinner, told me about the concept album they were doing, and put me in my room. I had to listen to the song that night. And the next morning, I was in front of the microphone, and then the rest is history.
Nice. And that's a very cool thing that happened to introduce a lot of people to who you were and your vocals, and kudos to you on that. It was great work. Thank you.
It's a blessing that I even had that opportunity, and I am very grateful for it, extremely grateful. I'll take my gratefulness to the grave about it, because at the time I had no idea that this record was going to do as well as it did, and for that, it's pretty special.
That's awesome. So I know you got the tour to support that on the road for that, and on the road for you, period. Have you ever been starstruck by anybody?
For me, have I been starstruck? Well, one time when we were doing the Operation Mindcrime 1 and 2 tour, I got to meet Ronnie James Dio. That was pretty cool.
Wow.
And I've met a lot of people, in my time, and I just appreciate meeting people in the business to whatever level they are in. It doesn't matter to me. Just meeting people who have the same passion as you do is pretty inspiring, especially when they're really good at it. But that was one thing that I'll always remember, because it was a couple of years before his passing, and I didn't really realize at that point that it would be such a big thing to have that happen, but I'm so grateful that it did.
Yeah. I imagine that's a point in your life you'll remember forever. Great vocalist. We still mourn the loss of Ronnie.
I know. He was such a great individual, wasn't he? I mean, how did he get that voice? He was such a little guy. He had such a powerful freaking voice. It's crazy. But his attitude towards his fans and his following was highly regarded. I take note at that, too, because I think he had, I'm paraphrasing, I think he had some kind of quote about the fans, that with the fans or something we are nothing, and if we're not, they still continue, or something like that, and that makes a lot of sense, So.
Very cool. So you, Pamela Moore, new stuff, brand new news.
Yeah.
You got a brand new record out, Resurrect Me. Tell me about that.
Well, Resurrect Me is the record I've always wanted to make. It took a little bit too long to make it, but I think it came out, excuse me, at the right time. The reason for it was 4 years in the making, and the reason for that was because there was a lot of life experiences in between all of that stuff. I was living in Chicago when I started it, and then ended up moving back home to Seattle. And I also was touring in between with Primal Fear. So when we were writing the album, it was mostly done via internet and sharing files, which is the beauty about that. And the major collaborator that worked with me on the album is a gentleman named Michael Posh. And Michael was working with me as a second guitar player in one of my Pamela Moore versions in Chicago, and we were rehearsing for some shows. And he created this beautiful intro piece for the show. And I was pretty impressed, and so I approached him and asked him, I told him I was considering writing an album, and I wanted to see if we wanted to try writing a couple songs for it, and he was game. And luckily he stuck through it with my move, because that gets to be pretty tricky. And he saw through it with me, and I was going to collaborate with some other people, but he just kept sending me these amazing, soundtracks for me to write on. And everything that he sent me was even more exciting as the first. And so we ended up putting this album together. We lost an investor. We went ahead and just invested it in ourselves. And now you get to hear the fruits of our labor. There's one other writer that's on the album for one of the songs. His name is Brooke Lazat. He's a dear friend of mine that does a lot of orchestration and movie soundtracks and stuff. And we decided to put one of those songs on the album, which I'm grateful for because it kind of cleans the palette from this heavy, deep, heart-pounding metal music that you get to hear.
It's a, like you just said, it's a deep record. It's there's so many layers to it, and there's so many. I get so many emotions from it. It's a well put together record.
Thank you.
The track that really hits me is "The Sky Is Falling." I really enjoy that track.
Yeah. I've had a lot of people tell me they love that. One really cool thing about that track, excuse me, is my dear friend Ralph Sheepers, who is the lead singer for Primal Fear. He joined me on that track, and what's really neat about it is he added a lot of muscle to it because because of the guitar parts and everything in it, kind of needed that, and he really added to it, especially how he sang those little words at the ending. It makes it really exciting.
Right. So let's go ahead and play that song, and then we'll come back and talk more about your new record. What do you think about that?
Great.
All right, we'll be back in a few minutes.
We lose our inside. There's a crack in the sky.
Awesome. That was The Sky is Falling off the brand new Pamela Moore CD, Resurrect Me. We've been talking to her about the new record. Let's get back into it now. What kind of headspace were you in when this came about?
Well, after 4 years, there's been a lot of growth, and a lot of that album is like the soundtrack to my life for those 4 years. I had, a lot of situations happen, from relationship changes to moving to career issues and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of thought and growth in a lot of those a lot of those lyrics and melodies. So I guess I'd have to say that I tend to write from my heart. I think most musicians do, and it's pretty personable for me. There's a couple of songs on there, like Sky is Falling that we just heard. That song was actually written, it was finished before 2012. Well, I was actually going to call it 2012, but Michael and I had a discussion about it, and we thought, well, maybe this album isn't going to come out before then, so maybe we should make it be something else so it's not so dated. But it's actually supposed to be my reflections on if the world really was going to end in 2012, how did we live our life? Are we prepared, for whatever comes, so to speak? And then Damaged, all the other ones are a little bit more, heart-wrenching, going through relationship issues, but Damaged is kind of a soft play on my feelings about large government and being seduced by corporations. It's a slight political angle there, and that's why you hear the little kids doing the Pledge of Allegiance in the middle of it. So that's my little tame way of, approaching it. And I think it came out okay.
It did. The feeling I get from the whole record is it was written as an artistic piece. It was not written from the wallet. I hate to say it, but it does occur where people sit down and they think, what song can I write that's going to make me the most money? And in that, the soul has lost, the soul of music, the feeling of music is lost, and unfortunately, that's what we're hearing a lot of. And music to me has always moved me and made me feel, stopped me in my tracks. Well, wow, what was that? And this record was, I get the feeling that, everything be damned, I'm going to write something that I feel, and that's what I get from the record.
Well, and you know what, I'm the same way with you. I mean, as a listener, I want to be able to relate to it somehow, and it doesn't mean that every song I'm going to be that way, because our experience, dictates what we believe to be true or whatever, so not every song, everyone's going to see it the same way. I did keep in mind that it's nice to have solid, memorable choruses and things that stay with you, because you do want people to have that swim around in their head after they're done finishing. You want them to kind of sing along to it. So I do think there's beauty in strong choruses, but the whole songs have to kind of fit in together, don't they? I mean, they have to fit in with the music. You can't just sit there and write something and just stamp it out and go, okay, here you go. So there was a lot of thought involved, and when I was listening to the tracks Michael sent me, there's a lot of emotion, and there is some real complex parts in there as well, because that's the type of guy that Michael is. And so I was able to sink my teeth into it, and it was a great marriage between the two. It was really exciting that we both saw the same vision, So I'm really happy to hear that. That's a major compliment to me, and I hope other people can connect to at least a couple of the songs, because it's my baby,
Yep. The music on
the
that is
reason why
incredible.
we do it, I suppose. I'm sorry. It's the reason.
No worries.
Why we do that. It's, I don't know, it's a way of being able to express, and I think all artists have that huge desire to be able to do that, and in doing that, you want to make sure that you connect with your listener too, because you want them to have that same feeling or have some kind of connection.
Right. I was going to say the music on that is very incredible. It's recorded very well. It's very clean. Levels are all good. The production value is awesome, spot on.
That's awesome. I'm glad that it came off that way because it was, Chuck Masick, who did the drums on the album, he's also a master mixer and recording engineer. He's very busy, and he's the one who kind of had to take, because I was living in Seattle and Michael was in Chicago, we had like 3 different or 4 different studios that we worked out of, and just by doing that, there's a few levels of circumstances that happen where, it's not super consistent as if you just did it in one place. So I think that's the beauty of Chuck's mastering, mind as far as mixing and trying to make everything sound very cohesive.
Right.
Most of my tracks were usually sung at like 2 different studios, maybe 3, I guess, 3 different studios here in Seattle, Washington, and then, of course, the more consistent was the studios that Mike and then Chuck had, so that probably helped with the music a lot.
So it's out on Rat Pack Records. How did you guys get involved with that particular company?
We finished the album last year, and we were thinking that we would just release it ourselves. And then after listening to the final masters, we were just like, you know what, we need to see if somebody's interested in this and give it the wings that it deserves, because we really felt good about the album. I'm sure everybody, when they put out an album, they feel the same way, but we felt like, well, let's see if there's any response, and we got response. But there was this one particular label, which is Rat Pack Records, that contacted me, and he's got relationships with Michael Wilton from Queensryche and Mike Stone, who used to be in Queensryche for a while, and a couple of other people, and I had some conversations with him, and I really like Joe and his gang over there. They're like awesome people, and they really think about the artist, and the artist has a say in, the marketing situation and the promotion part of it, and I really like that, A lot of times when you're with major labels, of course, I don't know this, first-handedly, maybe second-handedly, that, sometimes you kind of get hidden in the mix, and just by the offerings that he had and by the energy and also talking to my friends about it, I just decided this would be a really great situation for me, and I'm so glad I did. I love talking to them every day. They work their butts off, and I think their future is really promising. They're really gaining a lot of great artists on their roster, and I think good things are already happening for them, but I'm really happy that they decided to pick me up as well.
That's awesome. I got to throw a shout-out to Jen Kowalski from Media Relations from Rat Pack for making this happen. So they're definitely supporting you. They're definitely doing their job, and I think it was an awesome choice.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So, new record, new music. We see a tour coming?
Yeah, I'm working on the band right now. Because Michael played almost everything on the album, I'm having to assemble actual players to replicate it, and I have to tell you, the songs really translate live well. It's really exciting. You know how sometimes you'll hear an album and you go to see the band live and it just doesn't sound the same? Or maybe vice versa, you can see a band live and they're amazing, and then you hear the record and it's like, But this time around, I really think that it's going to be very deserving of how the album sounds as well. It's very exciting music, really high energy. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to do. We've got a couple shows. We've got a show booked, it looks like in July, maybe something at the end of June. We're still working on a possible tour, maybe some one-offs. I'm not sure how the festivals will be going right now because usually those are booked, a year in advance at least. But there's a definite plus in the fact that we are deciding to do that, and I really know that the fans have been saying to me they'd love to see this show live, and that's what I'm going to deliver.
Awesome. Pamela Moore, thank you for being on the show today. Great record, great music. I hope we continue to hear more from you. And anything else you want to say, the floor is yours. You can shout out to anybody you want to. It's all yours.
Well, I first want to thank you for asking me to share this time with you. I really do appreciate it. I also want to thank the fans for sticking with me and supporting me the way they do. If you love the album and you've got it, spread the word. I'd love for you to spread the word to everybody, and hopefully I see people out there in real life soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pamela.
Thank you. You take care.